All right, traders. Hey, welcome on back here this Tuesday afternoon. 2-3, well, not 4-5, but 2-6, 2-3-2-6, February 3rd, 2026. Great to have all of our students and members alike just rejoining us here back inside our live trading room. So later, just before Anna, Uday, Eric, Rich, got Natalie, all of our students and members here. Now, without further ado, let's hop right into the thick of things, as I like to say, just because we have our Phase 3 stock course lined up this afternoon coming up at 3 o'clock, top of the hour here at Fausto. So let me ask, who here is going to be joining Fausto in class, the Phase 3 stock course? If you're a gold, platinum, or diamond level student, you do have access to that class. But let me know here, if you're inside our live trading room, who's going to be joining Fausto, top of the hour. In the advanced class, Steve, Bill, Charles joining Fausto, and a few more as well. Leda, Uma, got, who else? A few more. Well, we're going to send that link out in just a bit. Keep in mind that's going to be at 3 o'clock Eastern, our live trading class, basically just following Fausto in the stock market, his actual trading platform, showing you his executions. Really doesn't get much better than just showing you how we trade ourselves, Fausto and myself as well. So at least with that, this trade USAR, I ended up taking a small loss on just before. Nasty drop. I thought it was going to make a cleaner breakout, right? Had good resistance. It was pinning up against resistance all afternoon. It was kind of waiting for this to happen, at least in terms of the breakout. Well, real quick, we're going to cover this in class. Fausto is going to go over more the 30-second rule. I'm a little bit more wordy. I got a big mouth. I like to yap a lot. So it's a little bit more extended. But when a stock breaks through a big level, pretty simply put, we should be looking for a big move shortly after. So at least once it broke above 26, this USAR trade, I thought we were going to see a pretty simple but big move going up. Well, I got taken out pretty quickly. It started off okay here, but nasty drop. Just this red bar here took me out. I was at like 25.84, a little bit below 85 there, maybe 83 I got stopped out at. But nonetheless, this thing all over the place, and now thankfully dropping a lot lower after I got out. So this is basically a representation of this whole market today, where even though the precious metals and rare earth stocks are pretty strong altogether today, listen, if the whole market's down, it's going to be really tough to have something go completely counter trend all day. So we actually did pretty good on the USAR since the market had opened up, but just in terms of charting, momentum, this was a great setup. But if it's not going to make that big move in your direction, right, and it's going to make a big move in your not direction, meaning it's going to go the other way. So you have to cut losses with that at least pretty quickly. Maybe this can make the retest of this level later on. I wouldn't mind coming back to this trade by the end of this meeting. But when the whole market's down, you're going to find not just good shorts, which we do here, of course. The PayPal trade was such a good short early on this morning. I thought there was a case to try and see support build here. And same thing like with the USAR, where if the markets are going to keep pulling back, this is going to go with it. But this is probably one of the weaker trades across the entire day. I wouldn't mind putting PayPal just back on our list as a potential short, seeing if this could go even lower. We did have support on the buy side earlier today for the PayPal right here. 40.75, 40.74, whatever that is here. But they ended up laddering up. This order moved up on the bid. They laddered up. That didn't really do too much for the stock yet, though, right? That's where I thought there was a case to see support hold higher right off the initial low of the day, 42.30-ish. But clearly that's not going to happen. So, this might get broken through. This might lead to a whole new move down. So at least follow the direction still on this trade with lower highs, potentially getting that retest of the lows there. So we'll add PayPal to our main list. Is there an inverse? I didn't even think about that. PYPZ, PYPS. I don't know. I don't think that there's an ETF or an inverse of that for the PayPal trade. So listen, if you could short it, then go for it. If you can't short, if you're in a cash account, then maybe there could be an inverse, ticker ETF. But we're going to find others. We're going to find plenty of other stocks here across the gainers and losers side here. Perhaps a stock like a publicly traded company just moving up right now on its own accord. And maybe the rare earth precious metal stocks come back. All right, so we'll go from top to bottom here. This trade, it moved up earlier, but nasty. nasty wicks and candles, very empty order book. I'm not really as particular about following that here for the final 85 minutes here to go, 75, 85 minutes. This stock, even though obviously it's cheaper, that of course stands out, but steadier trends, obviously tighter spread, looking at level 3, level 4 otherwise. So yeah, LIMN, I'll add this here for right now. Good trade. I don't know what the company does. And really, not to sound ignorant, this is exactly just what we do here at CTU. If we have time to check the news, like Sam did just before the whole market, then we'll look into it. Right? It's always good to have a curious mind. It's okay, but that doesn't make our decision to buy or sell. Right? Like we don't really care about what this company really does. We care more about the trend. We care more about the fact that this does have a good spread and I wish that there was a larger order here, maybe 120. That could be a bit of a resistance right now. The larger the order is, then the stronger the resistance. But see what else we got here for the time being. Fat N. I mean, hey, that's kind of how I would nickname it there. Fat N. The name of it's Fat Pipe. So this thing really hasn't gone anywhere today. Pass. GXAI did go somewhere. This was a really good move in the morning session, right? And thankfully, this played out pretty well in relation to the cyber clock. What time do we typically expect stocks to reverse, lose momentum, flatten out, go the other way? And give or take 15 minutes, 10:30, right? So this did really well today. Cheap stock, but it had a good spread. Maybe this is what the LIMN turns into in terms of the squeeze up. This thing don't care for. A lot of these stocks, folks, you just don't want to have noise. You don't care for noise and distractions. You want to have stocks that are easier on the eyes and have better order books. So, looks like a couple of the gold and silver stocks maybe moving back on up. PZG. Where's George? I know George told us about this Goro trade like a couple of weeks ago. It was a good day trade. Silver stock, right? Well, gold, rather. Gold Resource Corp. But a couple different ones. But SLV is the main ticker. How's that doing today? Not really gone anywhere since the morning here, since the late morning, early afternoon. So, I'm not really too particular about that. GDX, gold mining. GLD is spot. So, I'm not really particular about either of those for the time being. Maybe if this PZG kind of on its own pops by the end of this meeting, then we'll come back to it. But another gold one here, Vista Gold, VGZ. All right, so with the market falling off, Bitcoin's been falling off, and you knew that we've been expecting this. Just we can't really like prognosticate based on time. We could try and base it off of just levels. So we were saying throughout the course of this calendar year, at some point in 2026, probably see Bitcoin drop down towards like 65,000 or so. We were saying that back in like October, November, December. But that doesn't mean that we thought it was going to happen at the end of January, the beginning of February. That's crazy. So we have seen such a sharp decline at that. At this point, I kind of want the Band-Aid to just be ripped off. Have this just drop down to the 65, 67,000 and then see where it goes from that point. The longer it takes to get there, I'm kind of going to grow a bit impatient and just get antsy and maybe take an irrational trade that I probably shouldn't. So the faster this drops right now is kind of the better. That's all. Now with that, MSTR down. And we knew that was going to happen, right? Because once Fausto called this out, it broke below big support here. It was done for. That was from like the end of last week. BMNR. I really hope nobody's holding on to this piece of trash. I am so sorry for anyone that is. But once this ended up breaking below 30, this was a screaming short. I was saying that from yesterday. I was like, I really wish I focused more on this trade as buy puts on it, maybe do a swing short. But if you were able to get this entry here, seeing broken support, flipping into resistance, that's like the chef's kiss type of trade. Perfect move from there. And I think that there's probably a lot more room left on this thing. This thing's trash. This thing is not good at all. Their CEO was saying that Ethereum was going to go up to $10,000 by the end of January. you know? So that's just where a lot of these trades, they got an inverse to them at least. So MSTR short, you got MSTZ, which goes inverse to it. BMNR short, BMNZ, which is the inverse to that. So I wouldn't mind kind of putting those collectively on our watch list. And then with that, just of course, with the whole market pulling back just a moment ago, if we keep seeing more drop off, then this UVIX should eventually find support, come back up again. So kind of in lieu of the ETFs and all the inverses and all that stuff, I kind of tossed the UVIX on there. This is looking pretty good. I don't know what the company is here. Almonte Industries. This thing's at the high of the day. This thing's actually got a halfway filled in order book. The heck happens here? I didn't notice this trade until what the heck? Who are these people? Who is this company? How did we not know this company until like today? I don't think that we traded the stock back at the end of January. I tell you if I knew. At the least, I don't remember. So, just if anything, wow, this thing came from left field. ALM. I got to put this actually at the top of our list. ALM. All right. There we go. NB, this one I've seen trade before at least. So kind of familiar with it. We'd had a nice run on this back in September, October. I don't really recall it afterwards, so it is impressive to see it afterwards hold support so nicely. This didn't really break much lower. It's been holding a bit. It actually filled a gap on the daily chart for the most part today. But right now, it's at the high of the day right now. It's on good volume, good spread, big resistance here. That's definitely an iceberg. All right, so we got two really good trades now, just out of nowhere. ALM, NB, maybe the USAR if this wants to prove something to us. It did slingshot back up to 26 here. So, perhaps there could be room for a retest one more time. UAMI, good trade there too. Probably even stronger right now at this time compared to the USAR. You know what? I'll probably just make room for both. We'll go UAMI, we'll go USAR. Got CRML right below it percentage wise. This is a bit choppier. We don't need to add all of them. So at least the UAMI, the USAR, those precious metal rare earth stocks. I'm sure there's more. I'm sure there's others, but I'll tell you, we built up a good list already. Huntsman, this thing's not looking too bad. It's at the highs. Good spread. Not really the greatest long-term chart, but it looks like it's breaking higher highs from the last month. So that's good. Again, I don't mind kind of making room for a trade like this. I haven't really traded this stock ever, HUN. Maybe it is a rare earth precious metal stock. If it is, then just at least there, that's one that we haven't really seen before. So I'll give that a look. Rocket, we called out this on a pop this morning, just not really going anywhere as of now. This isn't a bad swing chart, though. This could be a very good swing trade in due time. I thought it was going to rip here back a month ago, and it started to, but fell back under where we had resistance here. So if we could reclaim this and hold over this as support, then we're talking. But that might take a little bit longer in terms of time this week, next week. More of a swing idea. Yeah, and you got a couple other, metals stocks, lithium stocks, metal stocks, TMC, TMQ, more ETFs. All right, let's hop over to the loser side, seeing if there's anything looking just as good from there. We got PayPal already. MAMO. This thing. Done. That thing is flat and done. Fubo got hit big today. I don't know, probably earnings, I guess. Don't really care for it here, but just didn't really notice the gap down this morning. There's the PayPal trade. We're gonna, keep that on our list. Potential short should this break below 42-ish, 41.80 again. Oh man, what else we got? StubHub. Ooh, this took a bit of a hit here earlier. The U trade also looking like an halfway decent short. Novo came out with news this morning, didn't they? They got halted off news pending. I saw Rich make that post. I forgot off the top of my head, quite frankly, what the news was. So what do we got? What was it, like an earnings leak? Trading lower after the company announced it will face pricing headwinds. That's kind of the only thing that kind of stands out to me here from Benzinga Pro. That's the news headline that came out. I believe they are reporting earnings tomorrow. So kind of a double whammy there. I normally don't focus on stocks before their earnings come out. We'll see how they perform and then we'll react to that earnings move. But you know what? At least news came out on this from earlier today. It's obviously moving off of that news headline. So even with the anticipation of their earnings to come out tomorrow, there's a chance this makes a move down to 50. You might see at least a move down to 50 and perhaps a break below there. And this thing could really tank. All right, so we got Novo. We'll put that on our list. And then what else? We got a lot more on the loser side here. Thank God I got out on this Fig. Figma, oh my God. I mean, hey, if it's going to make lower highs, then you know what's going to happen next, right? You can't take it personally, right? I had such a good entry on that trade, so I was invested in trying to be right. Well, listen, if you're not going to be right, you're going to be really wrong the longer you hold on. So I ended up taking like a really small loss on that trade, but listen, it didn't work out. So got to drop the ego. You know, doesn't matter what I think the stock could do or what I want the stock to do, but if it's not going to make that big move going up, it's going to make that big move going down, right? Was like a 7 or 8% loss I took on that one. That's right, because I got out before 30. It was like got out at like 31 on that, and then it tanked and puked. All right, what else we got here? At least from the losers list. Man, there's so much actually on the loser side here. Holy smokes, like 100, number 160. And I got this filtered by volume. So at least trading over 2.5 million shares. Number 160 is still down over 6.7%. So if you got a stock from me that's down percentage wise, I'd love to take a look, folks. Kind of all hands on deck. I don't mind taking a look, at least seeing what we got. Anything that you have an interest in that looks halfway decent, let me know. Reddit here is a short. This thing looks pretty good as a short. Just the only thing I'd say on this is that the order book's very thin. So probably not going to put it on our list for that reason. But I love the chart. Really strong, short here. Verizon going anywhere? Well, that's on the way up. So at least as far as a swing trade thought, that's been holding pretty nicely, but I don't expect that to like pop all the way back up again, make this big run from here. Kind of a slower stock, Verizon. So that's good for a swing trade idea later. It's been holding up well against the market. Fee trade, not really going anywhere today, Raphael. It's like very low volume right now compared to what it did a couple days ago. I think that ship has gone and sailed. If it wants to prove something to us, then let it have a green day. Let it pop on pre-market. Let there be more news. We'll be more convinced then. Otherwise, this is just some low float, small cap, kind of piece of trash company here. We don't really have any affiliation with that. And I mean that in a blunt way. I do mean that in a blunt way because, for all of us that are trying to look for the next big move or look for a swing trade, something that can go up over time. We talk about that in class. Actually, I did just cover that last week. We talked about that quite a bit just in last Friday's class, day trading versus swing trading, right? I still have that PowerPoint up there, so well timed. But just to tell you though, one big point with us trying to focus in on stocks day to day to day, week to week to week, the larger the cap, the more well known it is, the more I'll try and focus in on it day to day to day. So certain trades have proven themselves to us over the last year. A year ago, I don't think anyone really knew too much about IREN, IREN, at the beginning of 2025. And if you did, then I don't think that you were expecting it to make this move. So the more it proves itself to you, then you could try and make it more of one of your mainstay stocks, one of the stocks that are within your week to week rotation, day to day rotation at that. That fee trade, that is some just low float, small cap pump and dumper. That's all. Can't trust it as far as you could throw it. It's like the New York Giants of stocks. How about that? I'm a diehard New York Giants fan, so I'll throw a little salt in my wound here this season. This stock's like the New York Giants of the stock market. All right, so folks, with that, we're going to wrap on up here, at least for right now. If you're a gold, platinum, and diamond CTU student, which pretty much most of us here, I'd say, are. I see Charles here, Deb here, Glenn here, Mark here. I got Lee, you got Kevin, you got Leda, you got a few more of us at least just joining us right now live in chat. So you have access to Fausto's advanced class. Make sure that you click the link right there to join. Otherwise, I'll be on a coaching call coming up at 3 o'clock with one of our students. If I jump into anything, I'll let you know. But otherwise, my focal point will likely be on the USAR. If this can re-break 26, I have no problem trying to take that trade again. You know, the UAME trade probably going to move well with it. So, you know, either or, one over the other, I think. But then again, we got other trades too to work with. So at least start and stick with this list. And if I jump into anything, at least coming on up, I'll let you know. But, you know, best of luck trading here, folks, going into the close. And, you know, best of luck. Take care.